Just like the President of the U.S. receives a daily briefing, executives need to be aware of the cyber threats impacting their organizations. Introducing Cyber Briefing, your essential weekday newsletter. Stay ahead of the curve with our timely updates on the latest cybersecurity alerts, incidents, and news. Subscribe now on LinkedIn, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, or have it delivered straight to your inbox. Don't let your organization be caught off guard. Stay informed. Stay secure with Cyber Briefing.
What do you do when you get hacked? With law enforcement stretched thin, pursuing bigger targets. Your service provider's customer support bouncing you around like a ping-pong ball. And your IT friend avoiding your calls. You might feel stranded. Don't panic. Your ultimate cybersecurity lifeline has just landed. Introducing 911 Cyber, a league of top-notch cybersecurity first responders, backed by cutting-edge AI, primed to lead you step-by-step through the labyrinth of cyber threats. Engage in real-time conversations with our cyberbot for instant solutions. Get proactive and take charge now of your digital safety. Visit 911cyber.app.
Hello, everyone. I am Prapti, a social media manager at Cybermaterial, and I'm glad to be here with you today. Recently, at Cybermaterial, we launched the Ask Me Anything Cyber, a free cybersecurity consultation event where individuals and organizations can ask cybersecurity questions and receive expert advice from one of us, all of us, whatever you wish. This event aims to promote cybersecurity awareness and provide practical solutions to common cybersecurity issues. This Tuesday, the main motivation for Ask Me Anything Cyber live event is the identity theft news that spread like wildfire last week, didn't it? We are here to answer your questions, which you have asked over the past week, and also we will be taking questions from the live audience. Go ahead and leave your questions at Slido. You will find the link at the bottom of the screen. First and foremost, we need to be aware of these cyber incidents and why they happen. These incidents are important and they spread digitally. That means they reach a wider range of audience. That is where cyber material comes into action. We have created the cyber briefing where you can get all the cyber news, alerts, and incidents. Let's watch a quick video to introduce you to cyber briefing.
Just like the President of the U.S. receives a daily briefing, executives need to be aware of the cyber threats impacting their organizations. Introducing Cyber Briefing, your essential weekday newsletter. Stay ahead of the curve with our timely updates on the latest cybersecurity alerts, incidents, and news. Subscribe now on LinkedIn, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, or have it delivered straight to your inbox. Don't let your organization be caught off guard. Stay informed. Stay secure with Cyber Briefing.
So that was all about cyber briefing. Make sure to subscribe. It is 100% authentic, free, and it keeps you updated. Let's introduce you to our guest speakers for today's event. Here we have Sophia, who is the CTO at Cybermaterial. Hi, Sophie.
Hi, how are
And
you? Thank you for having me.
that's great. And here we have Mark, the CEO at 911 Cyber.
Hello, Prapti. Hello, Sophie. I am very happy to be with you all today.
So, how are we doing today? How is everything going?
We're great. I mean, I'm great. I'm just so excited to be here and to talk about how we can protect our fellow citizens.
All right. So then the first question goes to you. What actually happened last week? I read on the news that social security numbers, address, and other personal information were exposed.
Yeah, actually, last week we woke up with the news that the nationalpublicdata.com, which is a Florida-based consumer data broker, they were exposed to a massive data breach. So what happens is apparently a cyber criminal named USDOD was behind this data breach and affected around 272 million people, including dead people. And the information that was exposed were social security numbers, which is a very serious leak. And everyone is like grabbing their heads and trying to figure out what to do. So that's what basically happened last week.
Oh, that's actually a major incident that happened last week. Okay, so my next question jumps off to Mark. How did the breach at nationalpublicdata.com even happen?
Actually, it's still very early to know all the details, but so far there have been like it's actually very surprising that we get so much information because it looks like it's so trivial what happened, and they are putting and people are finding and putting some details out there. Actually, it's widely available, and you can find it on some blogs, some major news outlet are reporting it. Also, it looks like starting around December 2023, attackers they actually went to this website, National Public Data, which is a data broker, as Sophia mentioned it, and then they hacked the database. So they actually extracted this information, but that was silent. Nobody knew about it. And it looks like by April 2024, so that means the middle of the year, some other hackers starts like probably putting this information online, selling the stolen data on the dark web forums. Actually, I think at some point they were
Bridge farms.
yeah, I think they were asking for $2.5 million for the entire database, and it looks like in July 2024, the National Public Data they actually were aware of it, or it was actually disclosed. So now everybody is quite scratching their heads and trying to ask what to do because it's massive and it actually can lead to a lot of issues, identity theft, and problems for everybody here in the U.S. Yeah.
So this has been something that was going on from December, and now it affects us in mid-April, and now and to now. So
Yes.
that's actually long.
Yeah.
Actually, as you have mentioned, national public data, we have a question right here in that ballpark. Someone has asked, how can I find out if my information was compromised in the nationalpublicdata.com breach?
So I'm gonna go ahead and take it. One thing I notice, and you will find if you Google this question, you will get a lot of answers. So there are a lot of websites. Actually, there are three main websites that they set up for this specific breach where people can enter their information and they will tell them if they have been in this breach. Personally, I actually don't recommend to do that, but the idea is that I can name them. There's one which is npdbreach.com, npdpentester.com. Most people have been using have I been Pound, which is a very widely used and common website that people from all over the world have been using to check if their passwords have been into other hacks. My point is it's great to actually go to our database and figure out if they get your personal information in this specific breach. What I would recommend is basically you can monitor your entire information online, your what we call digital footprint, actually, and see if you have been at some point hacked. So, for example, the best way to figure out if somebody is using your social security to actually open accounts and requiring credits and doing anything like that, that will be the best way. So you should be vigilant and monitor. But if you want to take more actions and look into those databases, it may be okay, but I don't really trust them myself. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, okay, let me ask you this question, Sophie. So, what are data breaches and how do they contribute to identity theft?
Well, actually, that's a great question because we need to address the issue here, which is the data breach. And what we call data breach is when an authorized individual, they gain access to sensitive information. In this case, they get access to 272 million records of social security numbers. And data breaches can include personal information, financial information, medical data, or you can call it like information from organizations and patents and all these type of sensitive data. But because we all use these online systems, we all get this digital footprint spread all over the internet. So we need to be very careful when we when we use this personal information, when we put this data online. And when this digital footprint is they fall in the wrong hands, it can lead to identity theft. And what this identity theft is being used for is they exploit this stolen information, and they can create fraudulent accounts. They can use it to apply for loans, or they can carry out illicit activities with your social security number. They can open bank accounts. They can get a car loan or any other thing that would affect your personal life, because in this case it will affect your credit score. It would affect anything related to your financial status.
So like this kind of data breach, including like taking care of our digital footprint, must be very important because it's going to affect a lot, especially financially. All right. So
Exactly,
let's
yes.
focus. Yeah, so let's focus on the keyword here, digital footprint. Well, we have prepared a small video that will help you get insights on digital footprint and what the best practices are. So let's just quickly dive into that.
A digital footprint is the trail of data and information created by an individual's online activities and interactions. An active digital footprint is the information that the user deliberately shared about themselves. A passive digital footprint is created when information is collected about the user without them being aware that this is happening. Footprint matters, and it can have both positive and negative consequences. Organizations, employers, and governments can use it to make decisions about a person's reputation, credibility, and trustworthiness. The story of Naomi H. is a clear example of how negatively digital footprints can affect people's career. It can also have an impact on privacy and security, as personal information collected by third parties can be used for malicious purposes. In 2019, a stalker was able to locate his victim, a Japanese singer, because of a selfie she posted online. Online behavior can be used to harass, intimidate, or harm others. Excessive use of digital devices and social media can lead to addiction and can have negative impacts on mental health. Government agencies may monitor individuals' digital footprints for national security or law enforcement purposes. More than 500 companies in the US alone sell mass user data from the web, and there is almost no comprehensive federal data protection law. It is critical for individuals to understand the significance of their digital footprint and to take steps to protect it.
That was a great, insightful video. One question though. The video mentions Naomi H. So, Sophie, can you tell me what was the Naomi H incident?
Yeah, I mean, even this was not a data breach. It was mostly related to posting things online and linked to your personal name. So this girl, she said that she got an internship at NASA, and everybody can go and she started cursing online. But it looked like somebody that worked at NASA and oversee that this special part of like the internship program. He was like, "Hey, watch out with your language. You can be talking about NASA and cursing at the same time." So she was like, she replied and she said, well, I don't care. I got an internship at NASA, whatever. And she kept cursing. And the guy kind of did his job and rescinded the offer for the internship. So because she posted like these things online associated with her name, she lost her internship opportunity. So this is also part of digital footprint. Whatever you put online stays there, and anybody can use it to harm you against you. So to go back to the line of like data breach and why it's important to like keep track of your digital footprint, not only what you post online, but also what you are using to complete forms or to create an account or to do an online payment. You also need to keep track of these data because you don't know when some company can suffer a data breach and you can be affected. So it's also very important to keep an eye on all the things that you do online, not only what you post online, but also what you enter online about your personal data, such as socials, date of birth, credit cards, or anything that can harm your reputation or your financial status.
Okay. So what you're saying is that whatever we put online can actually be traced back to us. So we must all be very careful about it.
There's a
So,
lot of like stories about like Naomi stories. There's also some soccer players that they were about to sign for a big club in Europe, and because they were like cursing when they were like I don't know 14 years old or 15 years old about this club, their offer gets rescinded because of that. Like it's like people they forgot that they are posting things online, and then when they start doing some due diligence about these about their background or their profile or whatever, they
mm,
find this information, and things can still affect you even if it's like 10 years like ahead of you.
yeah, this reminds me like of a quote Mike Tyson once said that people say anything online because they cannot be punched directly in the face. So I guess we should all watch out for what we say online. Well, great. Thank you for your insights, Sophie. Let's go further with another question, but this time from the live audience. So, right here we have a question. Is there a way to get a new social security number if mine was compromised?
Yeah, let definitely it is possible. I think in the US you can request up to three changes, three times you can have a social security number, but it's a very complicated and long process. So you don't recommend that. Actually, if you do feel that you need to change your social security number because you have been hacked, you have been part of a breach, and then you can actually start the process, you may request it. You're going to work with the Social Security Administration. They will be able to help you, but you need to know that it's not like a thing you just go and you do it. And on top of that, you can do it I think more three times in a lifetime. That means you
Yeah.
get
And
once,
also you
and
need to
then you can do it again.
justify and
Yeah.
you need to like explain to the agency why you need to change your social security and the reason behind, and you need to bring a lot of proof. So it's a
Yeah.
little bit hard
To do that. So anyway, you can do it, but we just don't recommend it. Now, if people are scared right now because they actually heard about this hack, and what we do know so far is that most of this information in these records that they actually are circulating, it looks like they are not very accurate. And there are a lot of this data that kind of mismatch with people. So that means it may have the right social security number, but the wrong name, the wrong address, the wrong phone number. Anyway, the idea is just I wouldn't take any measure at like trying to change my social security number just because I've heard about this breach. It can definitely not lead to any specific identity theft. So you may wait and see and take other measures actually before going and change your social security number, because that will not be the easiest thing to do. Yeah, but you can.
Okay.
Yeah,
So basically, changing a social security number is not something that you both would recommend.
to do very often.
Well,
Now we know
I
that
mean,
we're getting a lot of hacks and a lot of data
yeah,
breaches lately,
Mm.
so it's not actually the first one. This one
yeah.
makes a lot of noise because for some reason it looks
It
like it's
involves a lot
massive.
of people, like
Yes.
270 million people. So almost like 80% of the US population, I can say.
Yeah.
Even though some of those records are from deceased individuals, but they can still do harm because deceased dead people,
Yeah.
they can monitor their credit score. So it's like it's very important, like because they can use this social to create accounts, fake profiles, and of course, all this is associated with also the other issue that it's been happening during this year that people are not maybe aware of, that there were some North Korean hackers impersonating US citizens so they can work for US companies, tech companies. So they were using fake social security numbers to impersonate these individuals. So they can use this data to also create fake profiles about fake Americans or real Americans, but they are deceased. So there's a very hard to monitor these data as well.
All right. So, right off the bat, not the best solution, but there are other practices that we can do when your social security number is compromised, right? All right. Um, okay, so let's see what we have here. Thank you, by the way, Mark, for your insightful answer. So, coming up, a user here has asked, how can I tell if my identity has been stolen? Who would like to answer this question?
I mean,
Mark, Sophie?
yeah, I can go ahead and answer, but Mark, you can complement my answer as well. So signs to check when your identity may have been stolen. It can explain, it can include like unexplained withdrawals from your bank account or unfamiliar accounts, or you start receiving mail at your home for credit cards you never signed up for, or you can receive like car loans or calls from debt collectors. They start calling you saying you owe us money, and because they have your data, they start calling, and but you never did anything of this. So anything that you feel like it's off, it may have been like there are signs that your identity may have been compromised, and you need to take action. And Mark can like chip in here on how what type of actions like users can take so they can protect their identity.
Actually, one of the major thing that right now is very common, and on top of that, it's free that most people can do. If we said that maybe it's not necessary to go and change your social security number right away because you heard of a data breach, but there's one thing you can actually do, which is freeze your credit, your account. So if you can do that, and you can already prevent any people from actually using your credit score and your financial status in general to request new cards, because every time you ask for a loan, you want to buy something that requires a credit check, it will be inaccessible, and then when you need to use it, you will be able to do that. So this is the reason why, of course, it's hard. Actually, sometimes it may take a lot of time to actually know that your identity has been stolen. It may not be right away you will notice that, but at the same time, you can take this measure to anticipate any type of actions that can be taken. So right now,
And
that one of the things I think here in the US, we got like three major credit bureaus.
credit card, yeah.
So you can actually go on their websites, and each of them, they enable people to actually do that. One thing they talk about is locking your credit, and another thing is freezing it. I think the lock is more like a commercial thing they are offering, but freezing it, it's basically preventing anybody from from checking your credit until you actually re-enable that, so you can do it.
Yeah.
So
And
that's
sometimes
what.
these companies, in this case, National Public Data, they may offer these services for free. And so, because sometimes these are paid services, but because they have been compromised, they offer it for free. I can call it like a perk because of like you are a victim, so they give you a perk of free 1 year credit monitoring. So it's very important to actually reach out to them and see, you know what, I may have been a victim. What can I do? And sometimes they offer it for free for 1 year.
Yeah, it usually actually takes time before, these companies, when they get like they suffer those breaches, it takes time for them to detect that. It takes time for them to actually get their act together with the lawyers and everybody else, and then they start reaching out. So, for example, we have all heard about the Change Healthcare data breach at the hack actually at the beginning of the year as well. So I think they start sending mails to almost everybody here in the US saying, you know what, we have suffered this data breach and we have suffered this hack, this cyber incident, and then we would want to offer you this credit monitoring. And you can actually request it. They give a phone number on an email address or website, and you can go and set it up. It's more like a preventive measures. And now knowing exactly if your account has been stolen, it requires sometimes the help of professionals because they have to do besides the obvious stuff like Sophie mentioned, like withdrawal on your accounts and then like weird stuff happening around you. It's also sometimes it may be they are impersonating you to do not financial damage, at least for now, but they are using it. For example, the example she mentioned, it's something happening a lot right now. People are applying to jobs using other people's persona. It's like
Yeah.
it's weird, but it's something that is occurring, and you may understand it. It's kind of identity theft as well, right? Yeah.
Yeah, though only one thing I'd say that if someone is applying for a job with my name, I hope that I get half, like 50-50, and
Yeah.
some of the salary as well,
You
because this
wouldn't
is not
you wouldn't
fair.
known until like something
Yeah.
wrong happens to you,
Yeah.
or somebody
Yeah.
reached out to you saying, "Hey, you didn't show up for work," and you're like, What type of work you're talking about? I don't know what you're talking about." And then you figure it out like somebody's impersonating you.
Okay. So the first and foremost sign people should be looking out is for like any financial weirdness going on with their accounts. And the scariest part, I think, is when somebody would call me and ask me that I owe them money and I have to clear off that debt. I think that would be the scariest part of it all. And I think one of the solutions Mark just mentioned was freezing credit. Is that a solution?
It is actually a very good measure. Mostly right now, I will say here in the US, it's kind of almost everywhere. And people sometimes they ask you for your social security number, which is not a piece of information people should be giving away very easily, but because they don't know, mostly the elderly and then people who are not very familiar with cybersecurity and privacy requirements. So they say, okay, you ask for it, I give it. Because on authority is asking for it, I give it. They go to the hospital or anybody ask, and now because of that, it puts you at risk of suffering all those identity theft. And the easiest way actually to prevent that from happening is protecting your money, your bank accounts, your reputation, and also not being in trouble with the law just because somebody stole actually there are movies about that, so people are being aware of it, but still, and most people they don't actually pay attention to the easiest thing that you can
Yeah,
actually do, because it may be difficult actually to know that you can
to
go and
know that
freeze it,
happened. Yeah.
and then after, if you need it, you go and you unfreeze your credit later on. Yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of like senior citizens, they being the most affected, I think this process is a little too much for them to figure out, because senior citizens, the elderly, usually they need guidance. So maybe that's where cybersecurity professionals come in handy a lot. All right.
Yeah.
So, all right. Let's see what we have here. The next question is quite important, I believe, since we are all meddling in the topic of identity theft. What are the most common methods criminal use to steal identities?
Hmm. That's a very question. I mean, beside data breaches, because it's the most like juicy one, they
Yeah.
can use methods like phishing, SMS like phishing, um, hacking, like stealing mail or dumpster diving, um, skimming devices on ATM, like machines. All these type of like compromises can affect an individual getting their identity stolen. When I talk about dumpster diving, it's a funny combination of words because that's
Yeah.
actually literally dumpster diving. It means you get into a dumpster to find physical documents that contains personal information. So mostly, like here in the U.S., people receive tons of mails, like trash mails, I can call it that
Yeah.
way. And most of them they contain like credit card pre-approval, information about like medical records, uh, offers, like promotions, codes, coupons, a lot of stuff you receive on your mail, right? So if somebody gets a hold of these data, they can put 1 plus 1 and they can get information about you. For example, what type of things you like, or what type of things you buy online, or what type of credit cards you have been approved. This means that depending on what type of credit card you get, it depends on how much your credit score good, how good your credit score is, and how much money you can spend. So they can kind of create a map of your whole persona, and they can get your data from getting your mail, like from dumpster diving. And this not only affect individuals, it can also affect companies at the same time, because companies also get a lot of junk mail and they just throw them away in the trash, and they don't shred it, they don't do anything. And any like threat actor can get a hold of this data and can contain sensitive documents, information about your company, TN numbers. They can have like registration numbers and all these data that can be used against you.
I,
So yeah, Mark. Yes, I know
I
you
was
are very fond
no.
of.
No, actually, I want to add a few more stuff. Actually, I was kind of smiling because, it's very hard and dumpster diving. That means it should be your local hacker and
Yes,
cyber
exactly.
criminal also targeting you. And of course, that people do it at massive scale, but not as we are seeing online. Actually, right now, there is a lot of dark web platforms where actually people can just go and buy absolutely great amount of data of people. So it's basically you can say, okay, people living in this city, I want to find information about them, and then you find a database, and then you just buy it for pennies on the dollar. I'm not talking about you spend millions. I'm talking about you spend a few dollars and you get access to this information. And then now thinking about if you're collecting those databases, at some point you can put together all information about somebody. You can basically build a Wikipedia with all the information of one individual, and you can use that to hack them. It's because sometimes you log in into one website, they ask you for personal information, they ask you for where you went to school, what is your favorite hobby, and then you went to this website where you are traveling, and then they actually get a records of your trips. They get your address, they get a lot of information, and if you put all that together, they actually get your personal history and everything that you have been doing and you owe or and they actually can use all that against you. So it's data breaches and identity theft. It's originated from information people can find, and right now finding them online. And actually I mentioned the dark web because they are selling them, but sometimes it's basically companies, they are going out of business and they decide to sell. Actually, it's crazy. I go to a conference, and then 2 weeks later people are reaching out saying, hey, do you want to buy the database
The
of
list,
everybody
yeah.
that went to this conference? And then actually, yeah, I do want to buy it, and then you get the data of all these people. Now imagine if somebody decides to do that for a lot of other conferences and a lot of other activities that you do online. They get all the information about you, and that enables all those massive hacking and identity theft and all
Yeah.
those issues we're talking about.
But again, I
Okay.
mean, I know it's like I don't want everybody to do a lot of mental gymnastics and, oh, what I'm gonna do
Yeah.
with my data, and like get all freaked out. It's very simple. It's just keep track of your digital footprint. At the end of the day, it's really important to know exactly where you put your data. So, for example, if you are a professional and you are putting your data to go to a conference, create an alias with your email and put the name of the conference. So whenever you receive junk email from anybody saying, I got your email from, I don't know, they don't even tell you where they got your email from. And you know exactly where this data is coming from. So you kind of pinpoint where this data is being leaked or it's like sold or whatever. So you will be able to understand how to map this footprint of your data. So it's very important. Like, don't go crazy. It's just think about it whenever you put your data. Don't use the same email address in 1,000 things, because if one of those companies they get breached or hacked or whatever, they will be able to kind of get access to all your added accounts because you use the same email address. Or the same for conferences. I tend to use aliases. Like, for example, I'm going to, I don't know, XYZ conference. So I create like sophia.xyz, add my email address. So I know exactly where I'm putting this data. So whenever somebody reach out to me, I know where is this data coming from, where this like contact is coming from. And if I don't want to deal with it anymore, I just get rid of these alias and it's going to bounce. So it's kind of
All right.
disposable. Of course, it takes a lot of work, but at the end of the day, it's a little bit worth it because I'm not saying like people will be able to get track of all this information like throughout the internet, but you kind of break it in pieces so they cannot put them together at the end of the day. So they cannot build your persona. I know, Mark, you want to say something? So
One
like,
last thing, actually, I want to add. It's basically sometimes you should be free to say no. I don't want to give my information. You should also be free, in some occasions, to provide fake information. Sometimes
Okay.
you just want to use the software, and
yes.
the company they got like a free trial, and they ask you so many questions. You say, Jesus, why do I just want to test it? If I like it, I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna become a customer. But if I just want to test it and I'm not gonna use, because if I put my personal information in all the free trials I'm gonna get, actually, it's like I'm putting all my life online because those
Yeah.
companies sometimes they just last a few months and then they disappear. So feel free to use sometimes fake information
Yeah.
because you don't have to always provide all your information. And whenever, actually, one rule I got, whenever somewhere they ask you for your social security number, if they are not like a valid institution and it absolutely required to provide them this information, you don't. Even going to the hospitals.
Yeah, yeah. Like for
Actually,
example, you go to the dentist and they give you a form, like a physical form and on a paper. And the first thing they ask, date of birth, social security number. Why my dentist need my social security number, like when they already have my health insurance information, which is the only thing they need to actually claim my visit to their office. Not my social, not my date of birth, not my phone number, nothing. They just only need my health insurance information. So even if they ask for the information, you can think about it and say, do I have to give it? Do they really need this information? So you need to also be conscious on this part, like to be very aware of where you're leaving your data.
Okay. So, like, I guess from what insights you have shared, I can come to the conclusion that a few preventative measures would be to watch out where we are giving our data, to definitely shred or dispose of our documents very well instead of just throwing them away. And also, we should also be mindful and we should say no to where we don't actually have to provide data, where it's not required. So, do you think that guest login should something that every company should use in their applications so that we don't have to provide, let's say, email addresses or create aliases of email addresses? Don't you think guest login should be something that should be there?
yeah, but most companies on the internet, they actually they are actually rely on the business of selling data. So that
Uh,
means even if the government was enforcing, actually, even if there was a law and the law was requiring companies to do that, I believe that will they will face a lot of blowback just because people they actually are in the business of selling data. So you see, this company, National whatever data, it's a data broker. So basically, that's what they do. They actually acquire data from even government institutions. So, and then they put it out there, and then they enable people to check, or to they resell it, or they do whatever they want. So this is the reason why it's very difficult to think of a measure like that. Now, what I do actually recommend, and from a cybersecurity standpoint, it's something that I think everybody, when you are building an application or when you're building a software, an app, you should think of it. Is it necessary to require that many information and to store this data if we don't need it? Because that becomes a liability for you as a company. Now, the truth is, it's not a matter of if you're gonna get hacked, is when. We all know that. Either you're an individual, or you're a business, or an organization, or a government agency, whatever type of institution, or school, or university. Now, if you know that you are at risk of being hacked, if you actually are storing data of users or employees or people that you actually don't need, you're putting yourself at risk, and you are waiting for a lawsuit or class action lawsuits that are coming after you get hacked. Because right now we know that and whenever you get those breaches, so the government get involved, and law firms get involved, and insurance get involved, and it's a mess. So you should take out as a business decision, and if you don't need the information, you should try to stay clear of it, not requiring it for people, not putting it everywhere, that when you get hacked, because you're gonna get hacked at some point, no matter how. In this case, I don't know if I provided the detail, but the explanation of what happened with the data which we were talking about today is,
National.
it's I think they got a sister website, and then on the other website they got like the records, actually logins information of people, of users, and they get it in plain text in the other website. So probably
Oh.
they got it, and they use the exact same information, and they get access to it. So sometimes it's mistakes when developers, they were not building products like software or apps with security by design. So they just say, just get it to work, functionalities, and that's it. Or sometimes it mistakes. Some employee can just forget, and then they forget to move the database, or to move this information, to encrypt it. There are a lot of
Yeah.
things that can
Or
happen.
some insider threat, any employee, they steal data from the
Yeah. So
company because
why?
they can see it in plain sight, like, and then they just copy social security numbers or credit cards, and
So why
So
putting
just
yourself at risk? So yeah, if you don't need it, don't ask for it, and then and that's also something that can help reduce the amount of data breaches. Because of course, if hackers, they don't find that much information to actually resell online, the business is gonna go down, right?
So, like for companies, if you don't need the data, don't ask for it. And for individuals, if you don't want to give the data, don't give it. So,
Yeah.
that is the best advice, I think, so far. So, okay,
yeah.
we'll be
And for
taking a
individuals,
question.
use disposable emails. There's a lot of providers online that you can use disposable emails,
Yeah.
like a 1 week inbox or 1 hour inbox. You can create fake emails and just give them.
Oh, that's actually a great tool. All right, so we'll be taking a question from the audience. So, a person here is asking, beside data breaches, what are the most common methods criminals use to steal identities? I think you answered this, dumpster diving. We mentioned that. So, is there anything else along with that?
Can you repeat the question? Apart what?
Yeah, other methods criminals can use to steal your identity. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
phishing. Phishing is number one.
Actually, social engineering, we didn't talk about that. Is probably the number one tool they
Yeah,
use,
Yeah,
because
wow, good
we
question.
all know of those calls, people calling and trying to get information,
yeah.
to get access to
I'm
your
calling about
computer,
your car loan or your car insurance,
or
like,
your
or your,
device.
Your car's
Uh,
extended warranty.
yeah, exactly. Yes.
Okay, so the question actually here is, what is social engineering and how does it relate to identity theft then?
Social engineering is when people try to manipulate an individual and then try to get information from them. So it's actually very simple, but also can be very complex. It can be fast. It can also take days. So social engineering can happen when you go to a bar and you're talking and somebody they approach you and they start asking a few questions. You think it's innocent, and then but they are collecting information about you that they can use later on to actually, even in real life, even now, even online, they can track you and do harm. And social
That's
engineering
your
can be,
local hacker, but
yeah, yeah. Social engineering also is when
yeah,
people
the
actually,
Roman scams online.
exactly, they set up fake persona, fake account, and then you think that you're talking with a beautiful, I don't know, a young, I don't know, that person from Bali, from wherever, and then the person may be right next to you, and then they try to create the stuff because they can get access, and you
Yeah.
give your information, and they use it to hack you. So it's
And
like the
actually, there's something very well known, and a couple of like during this year or previous years, you receive text messages saying, "Hey, we got a job for you," or "Do you want to hear about a job?" So these were like kind of like phishing scams.
Yeah, I understand. I actually am a very avid Discord user myself, and I see these phishing scams almost every day. One of my friend recently got entrapped in it, Steam gift cards, and he clicked on the link, and now his account is hacked. So watch out for phishing links, everybody. Apart from this, so I think social engineering is one of the methods that criminals can use, dumpster diving as well. So we should be very watchful. Apparently, Trojan does not only come through viruses, even people can be Trojan these days, right? So that's what you're telling me.
Yes.
Okay. But that's actually very scary because you never know who to trust. Okay, the next question will help a lot of startups and even well established companies. The question is, how can businesses better protect consumer data to prevent breaches like this?
you want to go at it, Sophie?
I mean, we sort of try to like answer this question. Like, if you're a business and you don't need certain information from individuals, don't ask for it. However, on the other side, when you actually need the data, so you can provide the service, you need to, of course, have a security team in your
Good
IT department,
cybersecurity.
a
Good
good
cybersecurity.
cybersecurity team in your department, IT department, and sort of having not the IT guy that is in charge of security, but having someone designated for the security of your data of your company, which is very important. Um, Also, of course, update software is very important for the security person to keep in mind. And of course, Mark, you are more well suited to
Yeah.
explain about this because you are the 911 cyber guy.
So yeah, the idea is just from this is not like a trivial question, because as we see that no matter how individuals or how they try, they will always be vulnerable, because we have to rely on a lot of organizations, and we talk about either it's private, non-profit, government organizations, or whatever type of institutions we actually deal with. They actually use our data somehow to provide us with services. So we actually, the burden is on those organizations to secure your information, and then how to protect people. Because let's say that I don't do anything, and then I went to a pharmacy, because they actually have to use my personal information to track the movements and to provide me with the service, and they get hacked, and then they steal my identity. So how am I responsible for that? Right now, the pharmacy it should be responsible, because definitely they should have taken measures, and those measures, they actually start from having strong encryption in place. That means they need to know the systems they are using, if they are using personal information, and the data should be encrypted either at rest or when is in transit. That means they need to use secure systems, make sure that all the apps or the servers or any providers they are working with, they provide them with secure platforms to actually do that. They need to make sure that they are updating their systems regularly. That means we know that if there is one thing related to the latest technologies, is that Every day they are changing, so we need to stay updated. We need to keep changing, because you haven't been updating for a few months, and then not only it's obsolete, but also there are so many vulnerabilities that now it's like you never had security from the get-go. So you actually have to take measures to make sure that you're always updating everything. So, and some
Okay.
basic stuff that some companies, I'm just gonna wrap up here, they actually don't do, but that is quite important: employee training. So people should know about the basic cybersecurity hygiene stuff they need to do on a daily basis in order not to expose your company data. And most importantly, you should definitely get cybersecurity professionals in your surrounding. Sometimes it may not you hire and you manage them, because that may be too much of a burden for your company, but or at least get like a company that you deal with, you get a relationship with. If something happens, they need to provide you with an incident response plan. They can
Yeah,
provide you with a lot of services that can help if something
yeah.
happens, but even prevent
Because
things from
sometimes
happening.
small businesses, they're like 2 people, 3 people, 5 people. So you're not going to hire an entire like cybersecurity department for your small business, but you can actually outsource to other companies
Yeah.
that they can provide this service for you for a fee, for like a very like, I'm not gonna say insignificant, but worthy fee, because whenever you get hacked, there's more money involved than you actually what you pay for cyber.
Okay. So actually, I think there's a meme going around. I see it very often. Companies always tend to have more money flowing into the IT team, cybersecurity team only after a data breach happens. So I guess that way we need to make sure that we have quite a good amount of personnel, quite a good amount of money invested in this. All
Mm.
right. So, okay, this question I'm about to ask is one of the most crucial ones in this event, I think. So the question is, what are the steps to take if someone steals my identity?
That's a very good question, and I'm gonna say part of the answer because I think Mark may help us with the rest. Uh, the first thing that you need to do is to actually make sure that your identity has been stolen, and you actually need to be like 100%, because sometimes it may be like, well, it's not exactly that. So what are the steps you need to take? And everything, like everyone needs to consider, is freeze your credit. That's the first thing you need to do when you suspect that. You just call these credit monitoring
Bureaus,
companies. Yeah, the bureaus. There are three: TransUnion and then you
experience.
need Experian. Yes, and you need to call them or reach out to them and say, you know what, I think my identity is being compromised.
Got it. Okay.
So there are a lot of other steps that I actually recommend, and one is get help from professionals. So I know a case where a very tech savvy person, they actually lost a lot of money. That was in the news. I'm not gonna mention a lot of details, because you can very quickly pinpoint this person, because that made huge news. That's one of the first case of a hack that is very common right now related to phones. So I was speaking with this person, and the one thing he told me is that, you know what, I am very good with computers, because I take a computer science graduate or whatever, but he is very good. So when he suspected that he was hacked, he tried to solve the problem himself. What happened, he ended up wasting a lot of time, and he wasted a lot of money. How he wasted money is because in the first hours, if there is money involved, you may even have a chance to recover some of them, because right now there are some institutions that are helping with that. So when I said get professional help, of course, the first thing will be if there's any cybersecurity company, and I don't want to promote now on cyber there, but I just want to say that there are people offering, there are groups, cybersecurity and companies offering services like that, that reach out and say, hey, what is the best step I need to take to actually solve this issue? So one will be to get a professional help. The other one is getting professional help via established institutions like the FTC, like the FBI IC3, and then like your bank. or other institutions that you know are reliable, when you report to them, actions can be taken. Now, it's not always because they are receiving a lot of complaints, a lot of issues. It's not always that they're going to work fast and they're going to solve your problems. That's why we mentioned before, it's great to get help from professional cybersecurity providers in this case. But you should actually reach out to the police. You need a police report to say that, you know what, somebody has been doing things under my name and it's not me, because you can be arrested and you didn't do anything. So you should actually take these steps, like reporting to the FTC. You can do it online. Go to your local precinct, go to the IC3 website, report it to the FBI, and then, of course, you may not even hear from them, because, as I'm saying, most of those institutions, I'm talking mostly about the FBI, they receive thousands of complaints on a daily basis. So unless you are a victim of a major thing, they probably won't be answering to you individually. But sometimes they can help. They can help, and they can help you recover money, and then they can help follow up on the issue, track the bad guys, and even prevent other people from being victims. Because if you report it, they may know and they can start
Awareness.
exactly. So that what I'm saying is that there are those steps that people should take, and they are absolutely important. Contact those companies that deal with fraud, that can your bank actually is the first one to alert, because sometimes they can just block your account. And if it's through money during the SWIFT system, they can actually even stop transfers from being completed and get you the money back. Actually, I have been speaking with people from the FBI IC3, and they actually said sometimes if it's less than 72 hours, you get like a huge probability of getting access to your money back. Because if they are on time in starting to track the bad guys, they may be able to help. So yeah, I would say reach out to professional help via cybersecurity companies, the established institutions, and then, of course, whenever you can, start making those changes. And I'm talking about passwords and all those stuff, because you can say it can I'm already in trouble. What should I do next? Now, you should prevent, because you don't even know the extent of your digital footprint. So that means some people, they got hacked, and then the hack spilled into the family and friends, because hackers are using the WhatsApp and sending messages and hacking people in the surroundings. So it may
Yeah,
be
requesting money under your name, saying, "Hey, grandma,
yeah.
I need some money."
So those are the stuff that you should take as measures, and I think they can help a lot of people. Yeah.
All right. So I think from what I gather is that you're asking people to take professional help. But I have a question right here. And so, Mark, let me ask you, are there any free tools available to protect us from identity theft?
Yes, there are some free tools. We talk about the credit monitoring services and things that actually everybody knows to use password managers sometimes, so you don't reuse the same password everywhere. And Sophia mentioned, and it's absolutely a great tool, using aliases. Right now, you can create an alias from your iPhone directly. That means it's called Hide My Email, and then you can do that
Oh,
on Outlook. Also, you can generate aliases, so you get the same email address, but you generate an email, and then it's gonna go to your inbox, so you can actually receive the emails. And but they don't know your main email. Actually, the aliases is very interesting, because you can hide your main logins information. And because sometimes people, the email they give you, that's the exact same thing they use to log in. That also, it's like the hacker, it already has like at least 50% of your credentials, so they can access. And then other stuff that people, I think one thing we didn't talk about a lot is the IRS provides like a tool. I think it's a 6-digit PIN number, and that you can actually use, so prevent people from filing tax on your behalf. That means if it's not you, it's not going to go through, because we know that, and people have been using dead people social security number to
hmm.
file taxes, or people have been stealing people identity and actually file taxes and get the return. So that means what it's not like a small thing. It's important. You should, if you can, request this PIN and protect yourself. It doesn't cost anything,
Yeah.
just the hassle
So
of
if you don't have
requesting
your
it.
IRS account set up, go and do it right now, so you can protect your
Oh,
information.
there is
Because
one
with
more.
your social number, social security number, they can create the account for you if you don't have it already. So it's very important if you do it first.
Okay, so just like a recap, so credit monitoring, credit freezes, email aliases. So we can create that on iPhone. You mentioned a free tool. What was the name of the tool? It's very helpful actually.
Hide my email.
Oh, that sounds like a great tool. That's actually very insightful.
Yeah.
And an IRS 6-digit PIN number. So all these tools will help us protect
Yeah.
against identity theft.
Yeah,
All
password
right.
managers and yeah, definitely. And I think the aliases you can actually create it on Outlook as well, Microsoft Outlook, and they enable you to create up to 10
Yeah.
aliases. So you can delete them and create one new ones. So that means you don't have to give your email to everybody. And then and or you can also do that if you own certain domains with Google. So basically with Gmail as well, you can use aliases. But the idea is just, and there are a lot of those tools, so people can feel free to reach out to us. Actually, I think also on the Cyber Material website they should find a lot of those information, but cyber tips and advice. But of course, if they ask specific questions, we're gonna answer. I think we provide the link for the Ask Me Anything Cyber virtual. People can ask questions. We're gonna maintain it permanent because we are, whenever people they get a question and they feel like they need some answers, they can actually do that. We do set up the
Yeah.
Ask Me Anything Cyber, where people can have like a 15-minute consultation where they can reach out, and then we're gonna get an expert to talk to them, and then they can ask questions. It's for free. Just you schedule it, and then you reach out, and then we talk. Yeah.
All right. So you can find the link at the bottom of the screen if any of you guys are wondering. So, credit freezes. I am sure we have heard about this. We have been talking about this. So, what exactly it is and how does it work?
So we mentioned that before. It's just reaching out to the three credit bureaus. Actually, it's great to do that with all three at the same time, and then you ask them to freeze it. So on the website, you're gonna navigate through the different options they have, and you don't have to pay. I think it's actually right now free for everybody, and then you just go and then you select the right options and you freeze your credit. So what it does is basically it makes it impossible for any institution to go and check your credit score. So if nobody can check your credit score, nobody will provide you with a loan or credit cards or anything that requires to have like a good credit.
No.
So that's the good thing about this. It's just like, but when you need to actually, so you are buying something and they require to check your credit score, so you can just unfreeze it. So it's a tool that is free, but definitely useful because it prevents the worst. Yeah.
Okay. So, another thing you had mentioned previously, it was the IRS Identity Protection PIN or the IP PIN. So, how does that work?
You actually have to create an account and then you reach to the IRS. I don't recommend reaching out via phone because it may take you a long time. Anyway, last time I know, maybe things have changed. But what I do know is that online you can do it, and then they're probably gonna ask you to interact with you physically. So they're not gonna give it to you online. Probably they will actually send it via mail, as in to your home address. So to prevent people from just asking it and getting access to this information and lock you out. And then once you do that, and then you get access to this information. So every time you are filing your tax return, you can definitely, it's gonna require it. So if somebody tries to file without the PIN, it's not gonna go through. They're not gonna be able to file.
Okay, so these two are very useful tools. Only one thing is that you don't want to call the IRS person because
No,
it takes,
yeah, actually, let's say you can call and you should call. What I'm saying is that you need to be prepared. So to spend
yeah.
some minutes and some certain times, it can be hours for the phone to get the right person and to be able to do that. So we are not like doing any advertisement or bad advertisement for the IRS. It's just like the reality. It used to be very, very complicated to reach out to the agency. Yes.
It's okay. We'll.
Well,
I guess
don't
people
don't
will
forget
listen to
that
follow
I
tunes.
identify me, the company, like identity me, like yeah. Anyway, that's another conversation.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Mark. So, the next question, I think, in general, has to do with everybody. And the question is, should I be concerned about my identity theft, even if my information is not exposed to the latest data breach?
You should be concerned always. That means even people who are experts in this, we work in cybersecurity, we take a lot of precautions every day. We are doing things and we get like we actually follow some of those, most of those advice, and we use the latest technologies, but we still worry because we know that just one mistake or somebody not even related to you can actually put you in trouble. So this is the reason why you should always be concerned and you should always be vigilant, looking and trying to see if everything is okay, because you don't own your entire digital footprint. That's the problem. It's not like you get it on a fly drive and you go online and you use it. No, it is spread all over the internet. You have used companies that don't exist. Actually, even government agencies. That means legitimately you travel to a country, they get access to your data, they ask you questions, they ask you to fill forms, they get it, and
Yeah.
then you hear in the next few years they get hacked. So what can you do about it? So it's basically
Like
you
the
are
Indian immigration platform
Yeah.
that they got hacked and they leaked all the expats' information. So
so you see
passport
it,
pictures.
it can happen anywhere and to anybody. So you should be concerned and always be on the lookout. Now, the thing is, you shouldn't be paranoid. And I'm not using the internet, and I'm going back to, I don't know, to the Stone Age. No, you actually can use technology, but you should be conscious about the risks, and you should follow the experts what they recommend, because it's not like they are talking about you need to be having a PhD in math and cryptography to be able to actually do those stuff. It's basic stuff that you can follow that can prevent you from being in trouble, that giving you some basic protections. Now, if something else happened because of a company, of an institution you interacted with, now it's another thing that there are other actions. There are legal actions that can
Okay.
be taken. Yes.
Okay. Understood. So now, as we head towards the end, we can all understand from the insights we have gained that from this event, that a lot of these things depend on personal information. In fact, the term is known as PII. Let me quickly share an infographic here. This is going to help you understand things better. With this infographic, you can find this on our LinkedIn page and just give us a follow, and you'll find this infographic there, or you can email us and we will share this infographic with you. Thank you so much, Mark and Sophie. So now let's wrap up everything today. For now, thank you so much for joining. Thank you, you guys, for interacting with us, asking so many insightful questions, and joining us, obviously. Make sure that you follow Cyber Material and visit us and subscribe to the Cyber Briefing for more. For help, go ahead and click on the 911 Cyber app. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Thank you.
you.